Good morning. This is Linda Stacy of Living Blueprints, and I wanted to get on today to discuss a gap that I've noticed when interviewing folks in strategy positions and more executive positions in companies, and how this gap is not helping companies. Most people know me and my firm, Living Blueprints, as a productivity company. I do teach individuals how to execute time and energy better in order to take, strategic control over what's going on in your life. And that's definitely a part of any company success, whether or not the employees are fully equipped to execute what their main jobs are. But, there's a lot of disconnects in terms of if people really know what the true priority is, and do they really know what the most important thing is to be working at any given moment, and can they stay focused, and what are the distractions in the workplace, and on and on and on. But I've been interviewing a lot of former coworkers from the management consulting space, and it's been very interesting to hear about their experience in the work world. I come from a long history of working in restaurants and all sorts of places, but mostly in a service-based capacity. And as a result, I've noticed that I'm very aware of the 70% of the workforce that is disengaged, not fully psychologically or emotionally engaged in their work, kind of doesn't care a lot at the end of the day. It's like, does anyone really notice if I go the extra mile? Does it matter if I really go the extra mile? And these things are important if you want employees to be engaged. And sometimes I even wonder, do the executives think about whether or not it really matters? Is it okay at the end of the day? Is it okay that something isn't carried out 100%, or that we're all kind of strangled because we have so much to do that we can only get to 65% of it? And sometimes the answers aren't clear to all of these questions. But what is clear to me is that there's a gap, and there are a lot of assumptions on both sides of the fence, both from the front lines, the individual contributors that are kind of doing the support work day in, day out, and then what the executives or the strategy folks know about what's happening at a broader level within the company. And when I go back to my restaurant days, I think of a really good analogy that you might apply to your environment, no matter which side of that fence you fall on. Think about this. In restaurants, you have, the servers, the front line, the people that are doing kind of the interaction with the main customer. This can vary, of course, when you get into professional services, things are going to shift as far as that looks. And then, you've got the person who started that restaurant, the person who owns the restaurant, may be a very local type of owner who's there all the time, or it might be even a corporate situation. But the ownership is very focused on having repeat customers. The most energy in any business is getting someone to buy the first time, right? And then you really need to wow them. You need to ensure that they continue to come back, because you've invested a lot of time and energy in some way, depending on how your business executes, in order to get that customer. You need them to return. In restaurants, it's no different. But is that what the server is thinking about when they're conducting their day-to-day? Is that what the busboy is thinking about? Is that what the hostess is thinking about? Many of these people are doing phenomenal work, but where is their mindset? And are they hooked into this idea that we really need to be sure that this person comes back because all of our livelihoods depend on it? My job depends on it. It should be within that person's constitution that it's important that that customer wants to come back. So when I worked in restaurants, we had all sorts of indications that wasn't what was on the top of mind for a server. I was working one night with a group of people who really wanted to get to a party. I was in college. We were all college students. It was a Friday night, and these people basically were shutting down their stations. I don't know where a manager was, in order to get where they needed to go. They kept saying, no more tables for me. We were really busy that night. And I was like, what is going on here? Clearly, these individuals who may have been doing a fine job with the tables remaining were not ultimately concerned about the fact that this restaurant is in business to bring in people to eat meals, and they need to be working, and as long as they need them on that given shift. And there were other times, of course, where I knew over time that the more tables you have, the more money you're likely going to make. I worked in restaurants where it was very restricted. You could only have 3 or 4 tables because they really wanted to ensure good service, which is fine. I got it, but I knew, because I did it for so many years, that ultimately number of tables meant more earning potential. You're just going to have more turnover. There's just more opportunity. If you only have 3 tables and they sit all night, you don't make any money. That's where my mind was as a 25-year-old college student or graduate student. And is this where the owner wants my mind? How can the owner get me to think differently about this? I think the owner should get me to think differently about this, be invested in it. How can they get me invested in that? One of the ways I think to really increase this investment is to talk honestly about what's happening on both sides. What are the struggles and risks on both sides of the equations? What are the struggles and risks for me as a college student who $10 or $15 or whatever that difference is in the giving, tip earning potential per night makes a difference in my well-being. I mean, it really did. And then what is the risk and what are the potential for the ownership or the management in that restaurant? And how can we have a discussion about what works well for both sides? What really is an optimal situation for both sides? I am more invested waiting tables when I know that I have awesome earning potential. I got to tell you, my attitude shifted when I knew that my earning potential was depleted. Of course, I could have gone to another restaurant. That's always an option. Then the restaurant is dealing with turnover and on and on. So there's definitely this gap between what the front lines believe that they are there to do day in, day out, and what the managers or the executives are committed to in terms of the business and how the business makes money and how the business continues to make money by continuing to bring back clients and customers. It's so much easier to sell to a satisfied customer than it is to earn a brand new one. How can we close this gap? I'm really interested to hear what you have to say about this, what you have to think about this, and know that I have a framework to help this discussion, to make it safe for both sides of this equation to come and sit at a table and figure out what the issues are. And does it matter? Does it matter if people care? I think it matters. But you tell me, does it matter? All right, you have a great day.